Someone for the same ticket paid $2,500 in April, and then someone else today paid $800 for the same seating arrangement. Who the hell? Who has $3,500?
It's become like an elite event for the world's wealthiest.
They're completely taking advantage of the working class citizen.
Welcome to the Bewildered Herd podcast, guys. My name is Jose, and today I'm joined by my friends Carlos and Edgar. Gentlemen, what's up?
What up?
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Dude, I don't see you guys too excited. Today should be an exciting episode because we're going to talk about what? The World Cup. Okay, no excitement for the World Cup. That's fine. Hopefully by the end of this episode, we'll get you excited for the World Cup. Or not. I mean, you guys are soccer guys. You guys are really not excited about the World Cup? Are you guys going to watch the World Cup? Are you guys going to root for someone at the World Cup? Carlos?
Look at Edgar. He's already representing Edgar. I don't know what.
Yeah, Edgar, who are you wearing? Who are you representing?
I got the Mexico jersey, but I think my jersey sums up like how I feel about the World Cup. So I just went to a swap meet right now, the Spring Valley one. I bought it for $20 because I'm going to support Mexico, but I'm not going to pay the fucking like full price for like the Adidas one. I don't know how much the full price is, like $180. Like, there's no way I'm paying that. And that's gonna reflect what the. Huh?
I like the two stripes instead of
the two
three.
Stripes. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, and I think that kind of sums up like what this episode is about. So yes, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm gonna watch it reluctantly and angry. They're not gonna have my full support. Like, I'm not gonna buy a ticket to go watch them for sure.
But I mean, this is the year, right? This is the year where the World Cup is actually here in the U.S. and even in Mexico, right? And Canada, for those who are more up north. Why not? Why aren't you watching? Why aren't you gonna go get a ticket?
I mean, I was super excited because I've been planning to go to the World Cup in my mind, to take my son for like years when I heard that it was going to be here in the US and in Mexico. So in my mind, I was already like, hell yeah, it's going to be way cheaper because I don't have to travel. It's going to be here in the US. And then, I signed up for that, the raffle, and I didn't make it. When we had like 20 of our family members, none of us like made it to the raffle. So we couldn't buy the ticket. And so when they finally went on the resale, I tried to buy one, and I was just disgusted by the greed that is FIFA. The cheapest one I could find, and this was like in April when I looked for it, was like $2,800 for either for a Mexico game or for a US game. And I checked right now how much the Mexico ones are for the opener, and it went up even more. Now it's like the minimum is like $3,500
in US dollars.
US dollars, yeah. And for a USA game, it went down. It went down to $800. And so, but in April, it was $2,500. So someone for the same ticket, like they could be sitting side by side, paid $2,500 in April, and then someone else today paid $800 for the same like seating arrangement. And so
So I just hope it flops. I just hope that the stadiums are empty, that people reject the greed of FIFA, and that they don't come, that people reject the horrendous foreign policy and visa requirements that the U.S. has imposed on the rest of the world, and just decide to not come. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Why is that, though? Like, why that strong sentiment about that?
I mean, just reacting to what Edgar's saying about these completely unaffordable prices for your average Mexican living in Ciudad de Mexico. What?
Yeah, who the hell? Who has $3,500?
Exactly. What in dollars?
Dollars.
Convert that to pesos in Ciudad de Mexico for your average working class capitalino. Who's gonna afford that? No one.
El que tiene la posibilidad de ir a pagar un boleto en el estadio, que por cierto son bastante caros.
It's become like an elite event for, I guess, the world's wealthiest. Right?
And the one that, okay, and so we're American, right? We live in the US. Maybe we can afford it if we save up and we really like dish out that money, but it's going to cut into, I don't know, our other entertainment buckets or like a vacation that we had planned. And I'm not cool with, the greed that is FIFA. But what I was really worried about was I asked Carlos, like, which underdeveloped country is the one that made it to to the World Cup that is the most impoverished. And I think Carlos, you said it was Haiti. So I looked it up, and in Haiti, the average month's salary is roughly $200, and their opening match cost of a ticket is about over $600. So that's more than 3 months of their entire salary, dude, for them to pay like the rent, food, bills, everything, right? And then add the cost of flights, hotels, which they're also surging their prices. Is like it's just unaffordable for them. They can't make it to this World Cup. And I love soccer because my parents immigrated from Mexico. They weren't the richest. It was like a working man sport, very affordable. All you needed was a ball and cleats. The shin guards, you can even just cut them out of cardboard or something. You don't even need that. And then I do like the AYSL program here in the US because it's really like super cheap for a season. And so we played that growing up. And it's supposed to be like the working person's sport, right? That's why it's the most popular sport in the world, because anybody can afford to play soccer. And so to see FIFA come up with this bullshit ticket pricing because it's being hosted in the US and Mexico and Canada is just like they're completely taking advantage of the working class citizen. The very ones that, make this sport possible, that watch the sport, they're just like completely turning on their fans. And so to me that doesn't sit well. And I'm not okay with it.
So are the games sold out? Are a lot of these games sold out?
Fuck no. FIFA operates in the shadows, and they have not been transparent with the US government, so much so that Letitia James, the attorney that was going to bring on charges to Trump, I don't know if she still is, but she's based out of New York, right, Carlos?
Yeah, it's the Attorney General Letitia James from New York, and then also New Jersey.
Okay. So this is how bad it is, Hoser. Like, they operate so much in the shadows that the US government, Attorney General of New York, is actually going to bring on charges against FIFA for price gouging, for operating in an untransparent manner. And so we don't know if the tickets are sold out or not. One thing I did not like, though, when you try to go buy tickets, they have this like ticker that makes it look like they're about to sell out, right? It's like, oh, there's so many people looking at the same ticket. Kind of like when you book a hotel. It's like, oh, there's only 2 rooms left. Like you have like 10 minutes to buy it. And so these practices are like deceptive because you don't know if there really are or are not tickets left. And like I was saying, like someone in April, they could have, tricked them into thinking like, oh shit, if I don't buy a ticket now for 2,500, there's not going to be any left. And fast forward to today, there's some left for the USA versus Paraguay opener for $800, which is like a fraction of the price. And so, I mean, to me, this is just not fair. And the thing that I'm talking about, and that's controversial, is the dynamic ticket pricing, which FIFA introduced for the very first time for this World Cup.
So can you explain a little bit what dynamic pricing is and how does it work? Who sets that up?
So dynamic pricing is kind of like what the airlines use, what hotels use, where they have data points from people.
Yeah, it's not only those. It's also the NFL, MLB, and NBA who use dynamic pricing. And this is where that weasel Infantino is trying to justify FIFA's use of dynamic pricing by saying that FIFA is just adapting to the North American market, in quotes.
So
Okay.
basically what it is, Hoser, is it gathers data points for demand, like trying to predict demand. Before they had, they had every 4 years, like they looked at ticket prices, what they sold for, how many people attended, and then they would try to plan and predict what the next World Cup would bring, right? The difference now is that they have a lot more data indicators to calculate like what the demand is, because we were just talking with Carlos, because we're in the age of information and technology where we just give them so much data that they know, how badly people want these tickets. And so because of these additional factors that maybe didn't exist before, they're able to surge their prices. So for example, like I was telling Carlos, maybe like 20 years ago when I tried to get a ride to the airport, there was this like company that, you booked in advance. It was like a month in advance, and they would pick you up and drop you off at the airport. And it was reasonable, dude. It was like $20 for a ride from my house to get to the airport. And then fast forward to today, if you try to use Uber, like when I land, they know how many other people are there with me. And then the other thing that scared me a little bit was Carlos told me that Uber has even like barometers, and they could check the temperature. They could check if it's raining, and that will incentivize me to want to get out of there even faster, right? And so if it's raining or if it's cold, like Uber can even pick up the price even more. So that's called like price surging. And so that's the same thing that FIFA is doing for this World Cup. Like they have all these, data collections that allow them to move the price up and down versus someone paying like the same price, I don't know, like $1,000 and everybody just pays $1,000. But no, it's not like that. Like someone could buy it at 2,500 one day. The next day they could buy it at 800. They could buy it at 3,000. And so the price is just going up and down.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate real quick. What's wrong with dynamic pricing if all these other professional sports leagues are doing it in the US? Why can't FIFA do it?
Well, what the fuck? I mean, just because they're doing it doesn't make it right. Like, I don't think any of those is right. And I'll give you one example. During COVID-19, you guys remember, right at the onset of the pandemic, what was the one thing that everybody was trying to get? Well, two things. There was two things, right? You guys remember?
Yeah, but
Toilet paper and water.
Toilet paper.
There's one set of rules for the true constituents of the government, and then there's a completely different set of rules for us average Joes.
Let me
And I
finish
know
my
where you're
point.
going with this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's my rubric.
So the two things was toilet paper, and
Mask.
and then N95 masks specifically, because those were the ones that could, stop the virus from coming in, and people were freaking out. They wanted to get a hold of their masks. Well, there was a couple of people that worked in the field that, they supplied these like masks to doctors or whatnot. One case in particular in New York, they called him the mask guy. He just decided like, oh shit, these masks are in demand. I'm just gonna board them, and then I'm just gonna mark up the price. This dude sold them for a 50% markup. Not even that much. There was other guys that sold them at like 10 times the price or something, which is like crazy. But this one, the mask guy, he sold them at like a 50% markup, right? And then what happened? Dude, the fucking FBI arrested this fool, charged him, and now he's in prison. So my point is that why is it that when the average Joe does it, it's considered illegal, but when these huge conglomerates, Ubers, FIFAs, MLB, when they do it, it's perfectly legal and acceptable. So I mean that to me just doesn't sit right. So I don't think, again, my position is that neither of these two should be allowed. Like you shouldn't be allowed to price gouge when there's a freaking pandemic, nor should you be allowed to price gouge when the FIFA World Cup is going on.
I mean, why not? Like this is supposedly, I say this in quotes, we live in a capitalistic society. I am in disagreement with that statement for reasons I've said before in the past. But if we take the premise that we do live in a capitalist system, isn't this capitalist at its finest, using the available tools at its disposal to equate supply and demand?
Yeah, I mean, if look, this is not an event that happens every year. It's at 4 years. People have 4 years to save, right? And if the demand is high, why not allow the vendors to make profit, right?
Well, I mean, in previous episodes we talked about monopolies, and I would argue that FIFA is a monopoly. There's no other World Cup. It only comes once every 4 years. And so there's no competition. So you're saying like, well, why can't they charge whatever they want if there's no other competition? I mean, to me, that's like an antitrust lawsuit right there. Monopolies are supposed to be illegal. That's not capitalism. To me, that's illegal. And so what they're doing is, I think Letitia James is right for bringing on this lawsuit because they're taking advantage of them being the only one that has that power.
Now,
I mean, I guess their competition could be what, the Olympics? That
Yeah,
was also like
yeah.
once every 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing is like, I think it's in the beginning of sports, right? There's been really high prices to these events. I mean, you had scalpers, right? Scalpers who were outside always selling tickets, and sometimes at double the price, right? What's the difference between them doing it and the organization doing it before? Again, I'm not saying I agree with this, but I'm just saying these are some of the arguments that, like Carlos said, playing the devil's advocate, this is some of the arguments that economists or FIFA can have, right? So one quick question I have about dynamic pricing, though, is this something a human sets up, or is this something that an algorithm and tech sets up?
Algorithm and tech. Because you need to have really sophisticated data points and a lot of data to be able to pull off something like this, right? So it's not that you have someone, a person or a team of people continuously monitoring the visits you get into a particular website and what they're probing and what they're looking for. And all this is an algorithm already programmed by people with a very clear objective. I think in this case, it's maximize profit for FIFA, right? I think the numbers that Infantino quoted in terms of the revenue that FIFA was going to make was around 11 billion, right? Which is kind of what prompted me to unleash that rant when Edgar was, just laying out the situation. I really hope it flops. I really hope that you see empty stadiums. I really hope that the hotels in the US stay empty. I hope their ratings are also low. I hope their fan fest areas, in which in previous iterations of the World Cup used to be free and now they're charging, I hope that those also remain empty. And I hope that people just see FIFA for what it is. They're a bunch of narcos. They're just legalized criminals wearing ties, maximizing what used to be the people's sport. And, I hope they just reject that and don't really tune in. Speaking from my perspective as an amateur player my whole life, I know I'm going to tune into the summaries, right? I'm probably not going to watch the games because I've got other things that are more important, but I know I'm going to go on YouTube and see the goals, right? I love those like 5-minute summaries of a game in which I get to see the red card, the goal, the almost, missed opportunity, and I'm done with the game. And I know that I'm going to be bombarded by ads when I search for those videos, right?
Wait, Carlos, you're not gonna watch the game because you're protesting, or because you're just too busy?
It's both. I think it's a combination of both. I mean, it really hurts because I have really dear memories. Like when we graduated from UCSD, it was a World Cup in South Africa, and Mexico played the opener against South Africa, right? And so if I look back on my life, every 4 years or so, there's like a watershed moment, which is the World Cup, which is how I've kind of, I remember the World Cup in Brazil. I was relatively recently arrived over here in the East Coast, right? I remember Germany going up against Brazil like 5-0 or something in the first half, and someone relaying to me that score and me being just completely incredulous, right? And I remember it like as if it was yesterday. So I'm just tired of FIFA's shit, of their shenanigans. They've gone too far, and I really hope it's a flop.
Do you really think it's fair that maybe a greedy corporation removes that passion and that love you have to watch World Cup games? Like, sure, they can make a profit, but are you gonna let them take that joy away from you if they already took your ability to go watch, right?
What joy? I think that the joy that people get from it is nationalistic in a sense, which is something that we've discussed here to some degree about the dangers of nationalism. Because I recognize within myself how nationalistic I get when the Mexican national anthem goes on the television, right? And there's about to be a game. I could tell you the first lines of the national anthem. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, right? Mexicans are yelling war. And, someone like George Orwell essentially says that sport is essentially war done in a playful way for the entertainment of the masses. And so because of these reasons, I'm, not really interested in what happens, right? Like I love to see pretty goals and impressive feats of athleticism. But beyond that, fuck FIFA, fuck the World Cup, fuck the Mexican national team, fuck the American national team. I'll root for the underdogs, Haiti, Curacao.
But why root for them? Because isn't that kind of going against what you're saying, though? Right?
It's always.
I think what you're saying is just like, I'm not gonna root for anyone. I'm not gonna watch it, and that's it.
Spoils
right?
It spoils the World Cup. When the last World Cup's final, Argentina versus France, like it just had higher numbers, right? Because they're the two most popular sports with the two most popular players, Messi and Mbappe. So what Carlos is saying, like, imagine if freaking Curaçao makes it like, I mean, it's never gonna happen, but imagine like it's just gonna spoil those plans to make even more money. So I kind of understand like what Carlos is saying.
But at the root of it, it's still nationalism, right? You're still rooting for a
No,
national
Yeah,
I
state.
don't.
it
I don't.
is, dude. It is. Yeah, it's ingrained into us, man. Like it's because you were saying like, oh, I'm gonna try not to tune in or whatever, but it's so hard because I grew up with it. You know, it's like part of my culture basically to watch freaking soccer games and boxing matches. That's just part of who my family is, and I continue the tradition to show my kid the same thing. And so it's hard to break that. And that's why I think it's messed up that FIFA's taking advantage of that. Because for like millions and billions of people, that grew up with soccer as part of their culture, like it's hard to break that habit.
Yeah, and in response to your query, hoser, I can't be nationalistic if I'm rooting for Haiti because I've never been to Haiti or Curacao. I'm just rooting for the underdog. And personally, I like to take the position of always rooting for the underdog.
But I guess what I'm trying to understand is like, because it's either to me it's either I watch it or I don't watch it because I like it or I don't like it. But you're telling me
Why?
like,
Why you have to be so
There, there's
extreme? Yeah, there's middle
there's
ground.
a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray.
well, I mean, okay, so then how can we be attacking this big organization when at the end of the day we're gonna support them somehow, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, like I bought this shirt for like $20 from the swap meet. Like, there's no way I'm buying a real Adidas jersey because fuck Adidas. And I'm okay with the blowback if it doesn't look real. Like if I get made fun of, I mean, I'm an adult now, but I think as a kid, like it's kind of hard when you're wearing like the fake stuff. But for me, I don't know, it's a little bit easier. And then I bumped into a friend. I was talking to Carlos and he asked me like, "Oh, are you gonna go to the games?" And I was like, "Nah, man, the tickets are like 2,500." And he's like, "No, no, no, they dropped dramatically. Like you got to check it again." And like I said, I checked it again for the USA opener, and it's at like $850, which I could afford now. But my point is that like because I can afford it, I'm still not gonna go just for the principle of them fucking gouging the shit out of it. I'm gonna watch on TV, but I'm not gonna go to the game, and I hope they learn their lesson. I hope there's other people like, Carlos is saying that because they were charging so much in the beginning that they just got turned off, and now even if it's cheaper, like just on principle, it's like nah, fuck that shit. Which I've heard it's true because the latest I read a couple of articles from reputable news agencies that hotel sales are not doing so good. They were expecting to like be sold out, and there's still a lot of rooms in a lot of the host cities. And so there's signs, hoser, that you asked me like, do we know if they're selling out or not? FIFA won't tell us, but the hotel rooms will, and they're saying that they're not even like close to capacity. And so that's a good sign that people are not paying what these ridiculous prices are.
So kind of like going back to what Carlos was saying earlier about how this is not an issue with just FIFA, right? And their dynamic pricing. This is an issue with that we're seeing right now with concerts, with different sporting events like the Super Bowl, right? Or like you guys said, right? Airline tickets, Taylor Swift tickets. I don't know if you guys heard that
Yeah.
recently. And even right now, like there's the NBA finals. I was looking at a ticket. It's gonna happen in New York. This is the first time they went back to the finals after like 53 years. And the cheapest ticket is $8,000.
I bought my tickets for nearly $1,000 from Madison Square Garden. I'll be going to tonight's Game 3, and I'll be standing for the duration of the game.
What?
Yeah, in New York. Given it's New York, sure, I get it, but at the same time, it's like it's a finals. Like the people from Long Island and from Coney Island or whatever, from the Heights, they want to see the
See,
Knicks win, right?
Yeah, but they're not even fans, bro, is what I'm telling you. That like the rich and powerful, this is like a little game to them that they're gonna go and see this like match, but they're not real fans. Or maybe some of them are, but the
Is
real
it?
fans are like the people that grew up in the streets playing soccer. Like those are the ones that watch it, not these like rich oligarchs. They're just gonna go and be like, "Oh, it's so cool! I got these World Cup tickets, and I'm gonna go to it." Like
You guys think it's a status
Exactly.
symbol?
That's what I was thinking. Like the cameos and the camera takes that are going to be during the World Cup of the VIPs who are in attendance,
yeah,
right?
these
Like
influencers and like
exactly.
yeah.
Whoever the fuck is there, right? Like I don't know. I can imagine maybe Taylor Swift and her husband, and I don't know. I don't know, but you know what? Like something I've also mentioned here is that rooting for a team, it's more obvious in the World Cup. It almost sets you up to be nationalistic, right? I mean, look at the colors on your shirt. It's red, white, and blue. Like, what are the colors on the Mexican flag? Red, white, and blue.
Lady, I don't pledge allegiance to anything except the red, white, and blue.
And it's not just in this instance. It's also since we're formed here in the U.S. educational system. You have a mascot at your elementary school with associated colors that goes on to middle school and high school, right? And then once you graduate high school, you have the same thing going on in college. And then once you're done with college, if you're lucky, you have a city team. And then once you leave your city team, like it's this herd mentality of getting behind some abstract mission to support the cause that I think just makes it easier for us to line up behind the demands of the government project of having a
Well,
nationalistic
well,
populace.
do you think that that's also part of the fact that like as humans we want to be in cliques, right? Like as a groups we want to be accepted,
Yeah.
right? And in a World Cup
sure.
scenario, right? At least I'll tell you, the World Cup has always been hard for me because the first World Cup I always saw was 1994, and I remember like I really liked was it Tony Balboa?
The goalkeeper, number 1, Tony Miola.
The goalie for the U.S. I think his last name was Balboa.
Tony Miola.
But he had like a ponytail.
Tony Miola.
And so
Marcelo Balboa was
Marcelo,
or
no.
Yeah, Marcelo Balboa was like
Marcelo Balboa. Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. See, I'm not that refined in soccer, but I remember I was watching the U.S. team and Alexis Lalas and Kobe Jones and and I really liked that team. I remember that, and I remember when I would talk to kids. I was in third grade, second grade, and they were like, "You like the U.S.?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Then I guess I gotta
exactly.
like Mexico."
I'll tell you that like 26 years later, or however long it's been. Like, what were you doing tuning into the U.S.?
Exactly. You see? And so people like Carlos, kids like Carlos here would bully me and say, "Why are you rooting for the US?" And it's like, man, it sucks, dude. And it was always a very divisive like feeling. And so it's like, oh, I had to root for the US, or I had to root for this country because I didn't want to feel excluded. And that's one of the things I've always noticed from the World Cup. Like there's that sense of exclusion to certain populations.
Don't listen to this guy, Hoser. Yeah, you can root for more than one team. I've said this before. Like, I hate when people are like, "Oh, you're rooting for Mexico, you're not American," or vice versa. Like, "Wow, you support the U.S., like you're not a Mexican." That's
No,
complete bullshit.
Yeah,
like, you can root for multiple teams.
You two did not live in Mexico during the 2002 World Cup in Korea, Japan, in which Mexico faced the United States in the top 16 bracket.
2-0.
Exactly. And there was already a sense of celebration in Mexico because prior to that, Mexico had a winning record against the US. And so it was assumed that Mexico was going to beat the US and go on to that famed 5th game, right? To the top 8. What happened? The United States beat Mexico in our sport, in an area that we had completely dominated them for a long time.
Into the path of Eddie Lewis on the charge, and Landon Donovan's in the middle to score the second goal for the USA and double their lead with 20 minutes of the second half played.
Once we got that second goal, Mexico fell apart. They fell apart completely.
And you just felt this whole sense of, it was, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
Yeah.
you know those shoe shines and that people like, write on their cars, like messages you would see on the streets of Tijuana, people already celebrating before the game, writing victorious messages on their cars. And then to wake up at, I don't know if the game in Pacific time was like 3 or 4 in the morning because it was played in Korea and Japan. And to see Mexico lose against their arch rival to the north and get eliminated. You guys didn't live that because you guys were in the US. I was in Tijuana. And I remember just how the sense of the whole city, state, and country was just a deflation and a sadness and a helplessness that our colonizer to the north was now beating us in one area where we thought we had them dominated, right? And so that's why for me it's like very clear cut. It's like saying, in my mind, I'm hearing you guys say like, yeah, you could support Real Madrid and Barcelona. What's the big deal? Or you could support America and Chivas. What's the big deal? You can support Boca and River Plate. What's the big deal? In my snobbish amateur soccer player opinion, I'll tell you guys, nah, you guys don't know what you're talking about in that respect. It's here it is very binary. It's either A or B.
Nah.
I like this. I like this because Carlos is saying like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes ago, he's talking about no. There's no binary. There's a gray area.
Yeah.
But in this area,
No, in this area, it is. It's black and white. Yeah,
it's black and white. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Like I'm saying like this is what it is. I mean, because if it were baseball, I would tell you the same thing. No, dude, you can't support the Dodgers.
Nah,
and the
that's
Padres.
just fucking stupid, dude.
Exactly. Like,
See?
how? Oh, I root for both. Like,
no, you can't do that. Like, well, I say you can't do that, but that's the thing. Like, I think it's something that's very ingrained, right? Like the culture ingrains into us, But this is kind of what I think about the World Cup when the World Cup comes about. This feeling, right, of pride, right? And so I honestly think that the reason why dynamic pricing works is because they take advantage of this pride. They take advantage of this nationalism. They take advantage of the hurt that's going on in different countries. I mean,
wait, works for who?
What? For FIFA.
You said dynamic pricing works because of this, but works
for FIFA.
for who?
For FIFA, because they take advantage of a Moroccan or some Ivory Coast immigrant in France, getting day in day out, getting racist remarks.
I'm not arguing that, Hoser. They're very smart. In fact, this is the first World Cup where they opened it up to 42 teams now. Do you guys know how many more teams are?
I'll look it up. Maybe it's ridiculous, man. I think it's like 48 or something.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think they did that? You think because they want to they're nice
48 teams.
Okay, but why did they do that?
Well, it's obvious, man. Every country has its oligarchy. Even Haiti. There's oligarchs in Haiti with money that live different from the population. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see Haitians supporting Haiti from Haiti, right? And so Hoser was making the example of people from, Morocco. Definitely oligarchs in Morocco. And if not oligarchs, like middle upper class / rich that can afford a ticket, can afford the hotel, and come and support their country.
Yeah, so more countries, more money, I think. And so what Hoser was saying is that it's working. I mean, yeah, it's working beautifully for them. But to me, that's the problem. Good for them, but not good for us.
Okay, so what do you propose?
Just stick to what they were doing before. They had 4 years to research how much to put the prices at, and then just keep it consistent for everybody. It's like if I go to the store and I'm gonna buy, a backpack. The same backpack is gonna cost $30 for everyone. It's not like, and in fact, when it's back to school, they don't surge it; they drop the price. They give you a discount. So I don't understand why. Why? Okay, go.
I could see a dystopia in which that isn't the case. I could see a dystopia in which a backpack is surge price.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about. So FIFA's argument is saying, this is kind of like a luxury entertainment product for the wealthy, right? This is kind of what it's become. And to be fair, FIFA's saying that nobody's forcing you to buy a ticket. This isn't medicine. This isn't housing. This isn't food. These aren't necessities. It's pure entertainment. So for now, it's a valid argument. But, we already mentioned that it went into the airline industry. It went into Uber and transportation industry. It's going into sports entertainment. What's to stop dynamic pricing from going into the necessities like food, shelter, housing, education?
But I think that's already been happening.
That's what I'm really scared about,
I think that's already been happening. Black Friday hits. A TV that you would have found for $150, it's now double the price. But because it's the rush, like you said, back to school, maybe your basic stores don't have that, but Amazon does. right? They can do
That's
it,
true,
right?
man. Like the Black Friday is a scam now, right? Like now,
Yeah.
instead of giving you deals, now I feel like it's price surging.
And
Right
yeah,
after Christmas is the real, like when it's really cheap.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
after Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to kind of like, what do you propose we do? Right now, I don't know if you guys have heard about the blue dot fever. Have you guys heard about the blue dot fever
No,
that's going on for summer concerts? So, what's going on is that here in the US, we've been seeing this price gouging, this dynamic pricing, especially with Ticketmaster. They, like Edgar said about FIFA, I think they're also a monopoly because they're the only ones who you can buy tickets through, right? But what you've been seeing is a lot of these musicians who have tour or summer concerts like planned out during the summer, they've had to cancel or postpone their concerts because the tickets are not selling. And
they're
so
too expensive.
whenever there's an empty seat, there's a blue dot in Ticketmaster. So they've been calling it blue dot fever. And eventually, what people are doing is they're just not going to concerts. They're like, if you're gonna do so expensive, then I'm not gonna go. They're just simply not going, and so it's been forcing a lot of these groups not to perform or to cancel a certain city. So
Not
it's
only
been
that,
starting.
but Live Nation, the parent company of Ticketmaster, was brought to justice by the U.S. government. They were charged with an antitrust lawsuit, and they lost.
Mhm.
They were convicted of running a monopoly, and so what do we need to do? Is I don't know, do more of that. Letitia James is already on it, so I hope that she wins and that FIFA is brought to justice, and then that sets the precedent for the next one trying to do that shit.
Yeah. So that's been happening, and at least here in the U.S., but it's been having to start locally, like in small cities. So I think like for FIFA, if kind of like what Carlos was saying, like, oh, can that happen? I'm like, I think it can, but probably in certain cities and in certain games. Not
You know
for
what else we should do is boycott this fucking UFC. Is that shit tonight? The UFC at the White House?
He's gonna get the pay-per-view. I know, Edgar. He's gonna get the
Fuck
pay-per-view.
no, dude. So
Dude,
we've been
I
arguing
was
this whole time we've been arguing this whole time that FIFA is like a monopoly and whatnot, and they should be brought to justice. The least we can do is like not support them, right? But what the U.S. government, what Trump is doing is like using taxpayer money to support the UFC and run this fucking event using taxpayer money, and then charges again to go to the event. So yeah, something like this like should never ever happen again, and we should definitely like be protesting and not watching this UFC event tonight at the White House.
So I
all
want
right.
to
So
just pivot quickly back. Like I played devil's advocate as to, what's wrong with dynamic pricing if other competitive professional leagues in the US do it. And to, present my true position, which I think it's wrong, right? I think ultimately what's happening with this dynamic model of selling tickets, it's that it's turning football into a privilege for those that could pay for it, right? And this is bad because soccer is not a luxury product, right? It is built by communities who are workers, migrants, black and brown players, mostly all over the world. There's also obviously a lot of white people who play soccer. And then if you look at a top contender for the World Cup, which is France, take a look at their players. Where are they from? Or where are they descendant from? Right? They're
Africa.
Afro descendant, you know? And so in a sense, what's happening is that this colonial process of extraction to develop this elite talent at the colonial center, which is France, and then you take black and brown bodies, you profit from them, and then you exclude the same sort of demographic, right? Black and brown working class people are left out of the spectacle. So it's like you absorb this talent from either Brazil, from Africa, from South America, take it to the colonial center, which is Europe. You profit ridiculously from the spectacle that these spectacular athletes bring. But then when these communities from which these players are taken from want to go see them live, you make it unaffordable, right? So in essence, you're making the sport less accessible, less democratic. It's FIFA profiting from black, brown, and migrant working class bodies that have become super athletes while excluding their communities that they came from. So that's my true position. What I was arguing previously of, playing devil's advocate is just exactly that. Like, why not? Why
No,
not have this here?
no, yeah, yeah. I mean, because I think that position you took, like, I think that's a legit argument that someone in favor of this would propose. So guys, to kind of wrap up this episode, let me ask you something. Let me finish it up with this. So 20 years from now, when we look back at this time in sports, this World Cup, do you think they're gonna say like, "Wow, dynamic pricing was a smart business model," or do you think this is gonna be the moment where ordinary fans are starting to get pushed out of the stadiums and out of the sport?
I mean, dynamic pricing works for the big oligarch, for the big companies, right? For FIFA, for the MLB, NBA, Uber. But again, like when the average person tries to do something similar, it's looked down upon. It's looked down as like price gouging. And so I don't get the disconnect, like why is it when the average person, when we try to do something like that, the FBI is on us, investigating us, bringing on charges, and then ultimately sending us to jail.
Carlos, do you think this is gonna continue?
I mean,
Yeah.
just quickly in response to Edgar's comment, it's because there's one set of rules for the owners of society and a completely different set of rules for us, right? You have the Sacklers, which are very clearly responsible for a big chunk of the opioid epidemics, with their names over certain museum wings, right? They got convicted of I don't know what and essentially got a slap in the hand. And then you have Chapel locked up in Colorado, right? So there's different set of rules for different demographics of people. That's in response to Edgar's last comment. You asked me if I think that this is going to continue to keep going, Hoser. Like I really don't know. I mean, if it turns out that FIFA has the revenues that they're projecting to have, of course. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen of that lawsuit that the attorney generals of New York and New Jersey are bringing against FIFA, and I hope that they really do clamp down.
Like, I think not only is it going to continue, it's going to get worse because we're at a point in history where these companies collect so much of our personal information and data that they're just going to keep getting smarter and smarter with the rise of AI and being able to manage the data, interpret the data. Like the dynamic pricing is just going to keep getting worse, and it's going to come to almost all of our aspects of daily life. And so you asked, like, what's one thing we can do is, I mean, I think like try to disconnect from our phone a little bit and not give up so much of that data. I saw a TikTok video or Instagram video recently that I thought was like super funny, but essentially it was like 50 years in the future, and this guy needed to go to the bathroom really bad. So he goes to the bathroom and he tries to like open the toilet seat, but it's locked. And then he's like, oh shit. So he checks his phone and it's like surge pricing. And he has to pay extra to open the stall or whatever. And so he does, he pays it and then he's able to go to the bathroom. But like it was kind of predicting what the future would look like. And I was like, this is not even that exaggerated. Like I think this is what the future is gonna look like. Everything is gonna be for sale.
Right. And
Everything's
in
gonna be
response to that, to the conversation we were having earlier, Edgar, I recommend a book by Cory Doctorow called Radicalized. It's a collection of short stories, and he has a story that is similar to what you're just shared, Edgar.
is it
But
fiction? Like Black Mirror?
yeah, it's
Oh
fiction.
shit.
It's fiction, and it's a collection of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
They have a story there called Jailbreaking, I think. And it's to the point where your toasters are smart and your fridge is smart and the elevator in your building is smart and the internet is just you're always interfacing with it in such a way that it disappears. And if you ask someone like Eric Schmidt at Alphabet, I guess, I don't know if he's still there, this is the future that they see, that the internet is blending seamlessly into your surroundings so that you're not aware of it, but it's watching you and it's capturing your data while you're just giving over your information. And this is something that I think I want to discuss with you all here is the economic age in which we are living in essentially rests on corporations constantly studying our every movement, scrutinizing all our digital footprints for their profit. So it's a similar dynamic in which, they're essentially extracting from us and privatizing the games.
Man, that's a hard pill to swallow, to imagine a
Yeah.
scenario like that.
Yeah, but you know what's also really funny is that Edgar shared that story about the toilet and how, extraction is such a bad thing. And I think right now we're on TikTok Live, right? Like, so we're providing all this additional information for the algorithm to better sort us, understand us, predict us, bin us.
So, hey, with that, let's give the algorithm something. Right? So, Mexico, Edgar, you're repping Mexico. Although Carlos says he's not supporting them, and deep down in his root, there's some Mexican.
Man, don't listen to this guy, dude. Like,
hold on. And then, yeah, I want to see Mexico succeed. So let's talk really quick. How do we think Mexico's gonna do in this World Cup?
So just really quick side story. Dude, I was with Carlos in the 2006 World Cup, or 2006, right? In TJ. Man, that was one of the best days of my life when Chicharito and Mexico beat France 2-0. Dude, we were cheering, going crazy, man. So I don't believe for a second that Carlos is not cheering for Mexico. Like, that dude is definitely gonna cheer for them.
Okay, yeah, imagine that, Edgar, and then imagine the opposite during 2002 in Korea, Japan, and you tell me that you can root for the USA. Fuck that.
But yeah, I
here's
See, because the USA...
Because you weren't there during 2002 in Mexico when they lost.
I mean, I'd rather one of the two countries go and represent...
No. Now, you can't... It's like this guy is claiming you could support Boca and River Plate. That's what I'm hearing.
So what? I like Real Madrid and Barcelona. That's just childish.
There you go. This guy is an anomaly. But this is another anecdote that I haven't shared. I saw the United States beat Mexico in Estadio Azteca in 2012. And you have no idea of the nationalistic fervor that is happening in Estadio Azteca when they play the Mexican national anthem. Like, if I really think about it, like, I get goosebumps because I never heard it like that in Ciudad de Mexico. And then when they play the American national anthem,
they boo it. The
TV broadcast mutes out all the profanity, all the boos, all the debauchery that is happening from the hyper-nationalistic local fans. What happened? The United States beat Mexico there. I think it was like 1-0. Dude, on the way to get to the stadium, you're navigating a sea of green t-shirts like the one Edgar has on. The metro is packed. Traffic is backed up because of that event. For you to go see a team that doesn't perform, for you to not be able to influence what happens on the field, it's just ridiculous. From that moment on, I knew that I could not influence in any meaningful way what happens on the field. So that's what I can honestly say. Like, I don't really care if Mexico wins or loses. Honestly, I couldn't tell. There's not a single player I like on the team. If you look at them, they're like a bunch of like white middle class Mexicans that decided to be athletes and that probably had some talent and worked hard and had support from their parents and had a good agent, and they played in the like reserves of a professional team. And then next thing you know, you're in Europe and then you come back. I'm thinking particularly of Layun. God damn, I hate that guy. He played for Hoser's sorry ass excuse of a team, America.
That guy's like gone. Like, he's been gone.
I know. I still
like
hate him.
Years, dude.
Because he's like a symptom of that, right? Of privileged white Mexicans wanting to make it.
You're thinking of Santi Jimenez.
That guy, his daddy was a professional soccer player. Maybe you could say it's in his genes and that he's good. I mean, physically he looks imposing.
He's all right.
I don't know.
You're confusing him with Raúl Jimenez.
No. Raúl Jimenez is good.
Yeah, he's good.
Raúl Jimenez, Raúl Jimenez is good, hands down.
What's the other guy? Santi
Jimenez? Yeah.
Is it also?
That guy, Raúl Jimenez, shouldn't be playing, man. That guy had like head issues, man. But
dude, that thing was crazy.
I'm surprised
But
that
anyway.
he's still playing. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I don't care how Mexico does. And in response to how they're going to do, they're going to win one game in the group stage. They're going to tie another in the group stage, and they're going to lose another in the group stage. By some miraculous form, they're going to make it to the top 16, and then they're going to face Argentina, and Argentina's going to go home. Oh, wait, you are home. Thanks for coming.
That's what always happens, yeah.
What do you think, Edgar? What do you think Mexico's going to do?
They actually look pretty good on the friendlies, dude. They just beat this team 4-0. Who did they beat? Or 4-1? New Zealand, I think. Was it New Zealand or Australia?
Yeah. Why don't they play Senegal? That impressed me. How the United States beat Senegal. That impressed me. I don't know if Senegal played with their A team, but the clips I saw, it was a competitive, intense game.
Yeah, the U.S. has been playing better competition, I would say. They just played Germany. They lost to one, but they look pretty good. So my prediction is, they'll make it to the next round, and then they'll get eliminated. Same for the U.S. I think they'll make it, and then they'll get eliminated.
I think they're gonna go to like 8, probably like quarterfinals or whatever you call that, and then.
Oh, you think they'll make it to like the next game?
Mexico. I think they will. But let me ask this: what if they do win the whole thing? Are they gonna make a believer of you again, Carlos?
Oh my god, dude! I saw how crazy you went on that 2000. This guy will go crazy, dude.
Well,
and he's contradicting everything.
Long time ago.
Everything he said on the last episode about nationalism, like he just contradicted everything he said in this episode.
How so?
You said that nationalism is bad, that we shouldn't be like falling for it. So then why are you saying like you could only support one or the other? Like you got to like, dude, you just going opposite of everything you said last episode.
No.
You said community. We need a community. We need to unify. We need to build strong relationships.
Well, hey, deep down he is wearing green. I'll tell you that. Maybe not the jersey, but he's wearing green. He's still wearing green, man. All right, y'all. Well, thanks, guys, for this episode. This is a really good episode. It's up to you, people who are watching, to watch the World Cup or not. Be like Carlos to only watch the summaries, or don't watch them. But either way, no matter what happens, soccer is still a beautiful, beautiful sport. And so, thank you guys for joining me today. This is a good episode, and we'll see you guys from the next one.
All right, thank you.
Peace out.
Choosing your battle, pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on.